Hi, my name is Diana, and today I will explain what the cell cycle control system is, as well as its significance and what can happen when this control system is for any reason disrupted. So to start, for this video, I assume that we all already know that the cell cycle is in fact a very complex set of stages. And whenever there is such a complex process to something, there has to be a way to regulate it and control it. Otherwise, things can get out of hand. So the book definition of a cell cycle control system is a clinically operating set of molecules in the cell that both triggers and coordinates key events in the cell cycle. And what does that mean? Well, if we were to put it in simpler terms, imagine a washing machine. Specifically, the washer's timing device. This timing device ensures that the washer fills up with water just at the right moment, and that the water supply shuts off without overflowing anywhere. Each stage of the washing cycle is regulated by checkpoints so that the process happens in the correct order. And the same applies to the cell. Just like the washing machine, the cell has internal and external signals that give the go-ahead or stop signs through the cell cycle. These signals report whether the required actions were in fact completed correctly by the cell, and thus whether it is okay for the cell to proceed to the next phase. These signals can also be referred to as checkpoints. There are three main checkpoints, and they are in the G1, the G2, and the M phases. The G1 checkpoint is considered to be the most important. If the cell receives the go-ahead at the G1 checkpoint, it will usually complete the G1, S, G2, and the M phases, and finally divide. If it doesn't, the cell switches to a non-dividing state, which is called the G0 phase. This would apply to nerve cells and muscle cells. But let's go back for a second and ask, how does the cell know in the first place that it needs to begin dividing? Well, the cell knows thanks to regulating molecules, which are primarily proteins. There are two types, protein kinase and cyclins. As the cell grows, it constantly produces proteins. Kinases, however, they are in an inactive form. In fact, they are called cyclin-dependent kinases for a reason, because without the cyclin-dependent kinase is inactive. But once combined with the cyclin, the cell reaches a critical point in its growth, and it knows that it can begin dividing. The CDK complex can also be referred to as the M-phase promoting factor, or MPF, and it triggers the cell's passage into the M phase. However, CDKs and MPFs aren't the only trigger factors in the cell division. There are also many external factors, such as chemical and physical factors, that can influence cell division. For example, cells fail to divide if an essential nutrient is missing. Even if all conditions are favorable to the cell, cells divide if and only if there is a specific growth medium or factor. Also, different cell types have different growth factors. For example, blood cells have a growth factor called a platelet-derived growth factor, or PDGF. The PDGF molecules trigger a signal transduction pathway that allows the cell to pass G1 checkpoint and divide. So what happens when the cell control system is disturbed? Well, a common result of such disruption is cancer, unfortunately. There are many hypotheses on why cancer is so resilient to the body's immune system. It is possible that cancer cells either don't need any growth factors to divide, or they simply create their own. Also, cancer cells are known to stop dividing at random points in the cycle. And they can also go on dividing indefinitely, disregarding all stop signals from the cell's control system. So that was a brief description of the cell control system, and I hope this video was helpful. Thanks for watching.